Welcome to this new session. We are going to see how we can really explore the search in this area web application with Hans DeVos, which is also a speaker in other BeeCon events and also a participant for the Fresco community. So a big applause for him just to start.
Thank you and welcome. In this session I will talk about how you can enhance your search experience in Share. The agenda for the next 25 minutes. First, a quick overview of what the current search result page looks like and go over some of its limitations according to me. After that we'll be introducing the table view, and based on that table view I'll show you how you can allow your end users to configure which columns he or she wants to see. After that, we'll go over how you can scope your facets per document type, not only per site, but per document type. And then the next topic, how you can save your search. And as a last topic, export to Excel. So the first item, what does the current search result page look like? Well, this is the detailed view where you have on your left facets, and then for each search result, a title and some metadata. And then the second view, the gallery view, where your preview is slightly bigger, and when you click on the information icon, you get your metadata. Well, according to me, there are some limitations on these on this page. First, you have the limited display options, only the detailed and the gallery view. Also, a limited list of metadata. What if you would like to have more metadata or other metadata in your search results, and what about custom metadata? And limited sort options. There's only this fixed list of sort options you have, which you can choose from. Also, when you have custom data you want to sort on, how do you do that? And a last remark is there are no advanced features. What I mean with advanced features, for example, say you have a custom type invoices. You do a search on your invoices, and you would like to have in your search, all your search results, a sum of all the invoice amounts. Something that's not possible in the Share search result page. So how do we fix these limitations? First, we'll be introducing the table view. Well, as most of you probably know, that's not new. Already 2 years ago, Dave Draper wrote a blog on how you can do that, and I'll quickly go over the highlights. You need to extend the faceted search get.js and look for the widget faceted search results list, which gives you a widget there in the screenshot. Within that widget, you have another widget, another table view widget, in which you can configure your header cells and your cells per property. And then, as an option, you can extend the out search list or the search service to fetch more data from the backend, because out of the box, not all data is returned from the back. And then this is the result. Now, I think there are a couple of positive effects of this page, or a couple of benefits. First one is you see more results on one screen. With the other views, the detailed view or the gallery view, you only had like 6 or 7 results on one screen before you need to go start scrolling. With the table view, you have, well, probably at least 15 or 20 results in one screen, so that gives you a better view of your results. Also, it's sortable by just clicking the header of your column. Like I just showed you with the detailed view, you have to go to the configure icon, then select the field. Here you can just click on the column header, which is more intuitive, as you know in other tools you might use. A remark you might have is that there's no preview in this view. Well, I actually discovered something when I was creating this presentation, is that when you click on the little preview icon in the detailed view, that actually pops up in a bigger preview. I didn't even know that. So if I didn't know that, I'm working with Fresco for almost 5 years now, 6 years. I don't think a lot of end users know that either. So the benefit of having the preview is kind of limited in the search result page, according to me. Also, when you, for example, have a custom type based on the CM folder, well, that preview is just that big icon, that folder icon. So that just takes up space in your search result page, while it doesn't really add anything to the page. And a third remark is that it's probably quite easy to implement on hover or something like that on the table view to show you a preview if you really would like to have it. One last remark on this page is you have the username there, the created by. When you don't do anything, your search result will show you the technical username there. So you have to resolve that username in the back to a full username to have a nice result in your result page. Now, based on that table view, we implemented something that allows your end user to choose which columns he or she wants to see. Now, how did we do that? Well, as you might know, the search result page is an incl page. An incl page consists of widgets, and those widgets can have their own configuration options. That entire model is described using JSON. Now, in all the incl pages and incl dashlets I've seen, that JSON model is hard-coded in share web script. While there's not really any reason to do that, you might as well fetch that JSON model from the backend using the remote root scoped object. And that gives you a couple of possibilities then. That means that depending on some parameters like username, you can fetch a different JSON model from the backend. So that gives you the option that per user you can have a different view on the same data. For example, I put there a screenshot of two JSON files that are stored in the repository. Now suppose Alice Beecher does a search, a quick search with the search box on the top right. Then that JSON file, the content of the first JSON file is read and is sent to the front end where it's then displayed because it's a JSON model, an incl JSON model. Now what Alice Beecher does an advanced search on standard operating procedure documents, the contents of the other file is read. The same goes when you have another user. That other user has its own JSON files then that are read. Now I hope this is, I think it's readable, yeah? Now what's the content of that JSON file? Well, it's what you would expect when you create a table view. So first you have a selector widget. After that you have a property link for CMA, which is then a link to the document details page, etc. So your entire column configuration is in there. And what does the front end do with it? Well, first it's going to do the remote call to fetch that content. It's going to parse it to JSON, and it's going to use that object to create your header cells and your cells. Well, that's all fine, but where does that content come from? Well, you can of course learn your end users to write that JSON code, but yeah, that's not really user-friendly. So what we did is we created a separate page which allows your end users to configure their column configuration just by drag and dropping. So the first thing you do is you select a column configuration, which is your default search, your quick search, or a type search depending on using the advanced search option. And then depending on your selection, two columns are filled. The first column, your available columns, well, that's what it says. It gives you all the available metadata for that kind of search. And then the right column, that gives you your current column configuration. And then just using simple drag and drop, you can move properties from left to right or from right to left to add or remove them from your current column configuration. And within the right column, you can even define an order of your property files, or your properties. And then when you click the Save button, that configuration is read and is sent to the backend to populate that JSON, or to create that JSON file. Now when you select an item in the property in the selected columns configuration, you get extra configuration options. You can select your type of renderer. Is it a property link? Is it just normal property? Is it the date? And then per renderer, you have then extra configuration options. For example, if you have a date field you want to display in your search results, you select the date field, you select the date renderer, sorry, and then you can choose in which format, in which date format the date should be displayed. Is it day, month, year, should the time be shown or not, etc. And then this is the result. So the first screenshot is your default configuration for a search, and the second screenshot is after your end user used that configuration tool I just showed you to configure which columns he or she wants to see. So between those two screenshots, no developer interference was needed, it's just your end user configuration. The next topic, how can you define or scope facets per type? Well, at this moment out of the box, facets are scoped per sites. So you can say per facet, it's available everywhere or it's only available for these sites. Well, we noticed that there are some limitations to that. Now suppose, I give you an example, suppose you have a custom data model, which has a super type, Alfresco documents, and some subtypes, Alfresco sales document, Alfresco engineering document, and Alfresco support document. And instances of those types are scattered amongst different sites, which is quite often the case. Then suppose there's a property field defined on the super type level, for example, product, and you want product to be a facet for all sales documents, but you don't want product to be a facet for engineering documents. That use case, it's not possible to configure that out of the box. So what did we do in the configuration, the facet search config web script, that's actually your search manager. In the create facets pop-up, we added an extra control types, which works the same way as the sites, to scope the sites. So we have a drop-down with your available types, and you just select which types that facet should be available for. When the facet is saved in the backend, we just add a custom aspect, which contains your scope types. The second thing we do then is extend the faceted search web script, which is actually your search result page. One of the first things the search result page is going to do is it's going to fetch all your facets from the back. So the backend doesn't do any filtering, it just returns you all the facets that are available in the repository. It's the front end that's going to do the filtering. So it's first going to compare the scope of your search, the site scope of your search, with the scope sites per facet. After that, it's going to compare the type of your search, if it's an advanced search, the type of your search, with the list of scoped types for that facet. If those two checks succeed, only then the facet will be shown in your search result page. Quickly, some two code snippets. First, the config web script. You just interfere in the publish payload of your create facet button, where you add an extra widget, which is a multiple entry form control with a drop-down with your available types. And then the second code snippet is the search result page, where you compare the type of your search with the scoped types for each facet. And that combination of being able to scope your facets per site and per type gives you really powerful and fine-grained control on which facets should be shown for which search. The next topic is saved searches. Well, saved searches is a concept that's actually known in Share, but in kind of a different way than we implement it. There is a saved search dashlet, and when you add that dashlet to your personal dashboard and you configure it, you get these options. So you can define a search term, give a title to your search, and you can define the number of search results you want to display. And then that's the result. Now there are some limitations to this dashlet. First, the search term, it does a full text search. So it's not possible to define a search on metadata. It's just a full text search. And you don't have any facets, for example, to filter down your search results. Saved searches was also something that was known in the old Explorer interface. And it was different than this dashlet. In the old Explorer interface, you could actually save your search form. So which means that when you pulled that saved search, it would pre-fill your search form. Also something different than what we are trying to do. What we want to do is to actually save your search on your search result page, including the selected facets, and including the sorting you defined. So how did we do that? Well, if you take a look at the URL of your saved search, of your search result page, you will notice that there are a couple of parameters in the hash parse. The first one is your search term, which is the same as with the dashlets. That defines your full text search term. The second parameter is the query. The query actually contains your metadata search. So for each field you enter in your search conditions, an entry is added to the query parameter here. For example, the CM name should contain project and your type should be of CM content. The third parameter is scope. So scope, is it a full repository search, is it an all sites search, or is it scoped for a particular site? Now the next parameter, the facet filters, that one contains actually the facets you selected in your search result page. So every time you select a facet, that Q name and the value is added to your facet filter parameter. And when you remove it, you declick it or uncheck it, it's removed from that parameter. And then the last two parameters define your sorting, which field and the direction of your sorting. So when you put that all together, your URL actually contains everything you need to know about your search. It contains a search term, both metadata and full text, the scope, selected facets, and the sorting. So when you would just save the URL, you save your entire search. So that's actually what we did. We just added a Save Search button, which gives you a pop-up where you can enter the name of your search. Now when you're a normal user, now by default all saved searches are private, so you only can see them. But when you're an administrator, you can also declare a saved search as being public, which means that saved search will be available for everybody. So in the backend then, we define a custom type, saved search, which contains the URL, the name of your search, and a boolean saying if it's public or not. And then we created a separate page, which just fetches all those saved searches you have permission to read. And it groups them in public reports or private reports. And then you see the name of your search, and behind that, that's just a link. When you click it, that URL we saved is just opened in a new tab or the same. That search gets executed again, so your search results are refreshed, actually current. But it also automatically selects your facets, and it keeps the ordering, the sorting you defined when you save that search. Now there's still one little problem with this. What if you use a date range in your search? For example, suppose I define a search, give me all invoices that are due next month. So I pull a date range, I create a date range, say the 1st of May until the 31st of May. That search is useful now, it's useful next week, maybe next month, but in 2-3 months, not useful anymore. What I would like to have is give me all the invoices due next month, which dynamically changes that month. So we fixed that with creating a custom control in our search form. So you still have the option to select specific from and to date, but you also have the option to select a deviation of the current date. So you define the date range depending on the current date and then plus minus a deviation. What happens then when you click the search button? In your search result page, that query parameter that we just talked about will contain a placeholder, all of today. And when the page gets loaded, the web script will see, I have a placeholder, and that section, in this example, all of today plus 14, will be replaced with an actual date range, depending on the date the page is loading, so today. Now remember when I said when you save the search, I just save the URL. Now that URL is still going to contain that placeholder. So if I execute that search again next month, the search result page will open. When I click the link, it will again see I have a placeholder. I'm going to replace it with the current date of then, so next month, and define a date range based on that. So that way it's actually quite easy to define a search which contains a dynamic date range. And that way you can create a saved search saying, give me all the invoices due next month. Next and last topic is the export to Excel. Now, that might be a dirty title, and I know it's not the most sexy subject, and it's not rocket science, but to be honest, it is something we, with our customers, see that they want. They know Excel, they know how to work with it, they feel comfortable with it, and yeah, it's just something they want. So, and to be honest, it does have a couple of benefits compared to a web application like Share. The first one is that you can group your search results based on a certain metadata or property. Second is you can do calculations. Remember the example I gave you in the beginning with give me the sum of all invoices of my search results. Not possible in Share. It is possible, of course, in Excel. Third option here is I put there analytics. I had a couple of presentations today that proves that Alfresco is moving forward within that section, but at this moment, not possible to do really any analytics on search results you get from the back end. Another example is collaborating with external users. What do I mean with external? Yeah, not everybody you might want to collaborate with does have access to your Alfresco instance. And you might want to collaborate on the data you get from your search results. So if you put aside for a minute all the security issues and then confidentiality, exporting to Excel gives you that possibility to collaborate with external users. And there are probably some other benefits in there. So yeah, quite easy to implement. We just added an export to Excel button, which goes to the back end and creates a CSV file, puts your search results in there, and then presents it to your end user for download. Now that CSV file will also take into account the facets you selected and the sorting you defined. I'm done a little bit quicker than I thought. A small recap. First, we introduced a table view, and based on that table view, I showed you how you can allow your end users to configure which data they want to see. Then we scoped the facets per document type. I showed you how you can save your search, with then the extra benefit of having that dynamic relative date stuff, and then the export to Excel at the end. So that concludes it a little bit faster than I thought, but it gives us time for some questions.
Hi. So this is regarding this export to Excel functionality. So as I see from the facet search results page, the payload response has limited set of metadata properties over there. So does this functionality provide to configure the custom metadata properties as well to be exported as a result?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
No. Okay. Yeah. So what's happening is in like the facet search results page, if I see the payload response over there from the search results object, so in the response we have limited set of metadata properties, like which are already defined in this template file. So whenever we play around with the export to Excel functionality, we are restricted with some set of metadata properties only, and sometimes we are not able to export the custom metadata properties.
Yeah.
So how are we handling that scenario? How can we configure that to yeah.
Thanks. Sorry. Custom metadata, right? The metadata you define.
So we did extend the backend to not just return a certain set of metadata, but it does return like all the metadata that's available. So that actually that gives you end user the possibility to just drag the columns in there that he or she wants that metadata will be available from the backend. Did I understood the question correctly?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but we are making external AJAX requests for that, or is it coming with the search results object itself already? Like it is a separate request we are sending while exporting the report. Is it a separate request we are sending to the repo to fetch the value of custom metadata properties, or is it already coming in the search results object?
It's already in the search result object. Yeah.
Yeah, even for the custom one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Including the custom one.
all the metadata is in the search result object. So both the out-of-the-box and the custom metadata is all in the search result object.
Okay. Yeah. Because right now we do not have it. Right now we have to make a separate AJAX request to the repo side and fetch it again. So it gives us a performance,
But this
The
is
drawback over
not
there.
just by default.
No, it's an extension. Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. It's an extension of the search web script
Okay.
to give you more data
Okay.
than out of the box. Yeah, it's an extension.
I got my answer. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question? I'm about to say. So, thanks. Really very interesting. We are all using this every day in our customers also. So I'm going to put in practice many of these tips. And I was thinking about pagination and Excel export. I think we have to deal with this pagination, right?
Yeah. So when you do the Excel export, actually in the backend, it's going to execute the search again. So in that backend search, to populate your CSV file, we just say, give me everything, and we don't apply any pagination on that.
So, thanks. Any other question? No? So, again, thank you. I have an announce, because if someone knows Nicholas Kirk, just please